Okay, lads and lasses, we are here for arguably one of the most important videos of this Premier League season, which is just my general predictions. I'm going to be letting you know today who wins the Premier League title. I'm going to be letting you know who gets relegated and who's in and around those European spots. Make sure to get involved. Let me know your opinions on my team placings and let me know who you think is going to win the title and maybe get relegated. So I'm actually going to start off with 19th and 20th as a duo because I think, to be honest, they're in the same boat, same category. It's the only teams I'm going to do this with. In 20th, we have Spurs. No, I'm joking. I know I'm stupid, but not that stupid. No, we have Hull in 20th, and in 19th, we have Ipswich Town. The transfer windows for both teams as a whole has just been so below par. More championship level, if anything. Both attacks just look honestly really bad. Hull's McBurney, I've commented on a little bit in previous videos. Ollie McBurney is amazing in the championship, in the EFL. He does bits. He goes up to the Premier League. He doesn't really do anything, and they haven't actually got another striker, which is a little bit worrying. Ipswich as well. I don't really recognise any of their signings. To be honest, the only player I could see maybe doing decent in the Prem for the step up is Jaden Philogene. Obviously, he had quite a lot of hype when he was young. He hasn't really done too much last 12-24 months. So we're yet to see it. I think he'll be decent this season. I just think it'll be a case where the Premier League's just too strong now. The general quality and level of the Premier League has gone up a lot this year. You have a lot of teams in and around those European spots, and it's just going to be a bit too much for them. On to 18th, and I actually have Fulham. Now, I don't think it's a case with Iraola at all. I mean, he hasn't really made it easy for himself since he's started being a manager. He immediately takes a job at Real Madrid, which is the second hardest job in the world behind Manchester United. I mean, the scrutiny he's probably facing, the amount of egotistical plays he has, is probably not very easy for the guy. Ends up getting sacked or leaving, I actually can't remember. And now has joined Fulham, one of the weakest Premier League sides that are probably going to be in a relegation battle. I see them going down to the Championship. I think it's just going to be a case where Iraola can't really get results out of the players they've got. And they just sort of turn into Watford a couple of years ago when they were in the Premier League. Obviously, in their last season, they were hiring managers like it was nothing. I mean, just left, right and centre, wasn't it? And I can see Fulham maybe doing that to sort of hopefully get some results in. Their squad isn't bad. They do have players like Leno, Robinson, Bassi, Burge and Gonzalo Garcia, who they signed from Real Madrid this season for 40 mil. And those players are going to bring quality this season. They are going to be good. But I just think, again, it's the case with the Premier League being too strong, and especially managerial changes, if they don't go to plan, especially with a lower level Premier League side, it's not really looking good for those type of clubs, and Fulham's going to be one of them. Now on to 17th, and I actually have Coventry to be the only surviving EFL club that was promoted this season. Now, I have to admit, it might be slightly biased, because there's a big part of me that can see Coventry going down with Ipswich and Hull and Fulham staying up. I actually don't think their side's too bad, especially Rudoni. I think he was amazing last season. Probably a Premier League level player. They've actually signed Rushworth, which was a player that played for them last season from Brighton. Amazing goalkeeper, top tier #1. He's going to be safe hands. 0-0s keep you in the Premier League. A lot of the cases, that is what happens. And Rushworth and their defence is going to be a big part to play. And I think their side is just slightly stronger than the other threes. It will be hard work. It will be lots and lots of work. But again, I also think Lampard's very strong. He's had cases where he's succeeded in the Premier League, had cases where he hasn't in the Premier League, had cases where he's done well in the EFL. I think he's learned a lot as a manager. We're going to see that in this Premier League season. On to 16th, and this may be a surprise, but I'm actually going to pick European winners. Crystal Palace. Palace losing Glasner is obviously the main topic for why I've placed them here. I think Glasner is actually in conversation for best Premier League manager, or at least one of the best. So if I was Palace, I would have just looked at it as like, he's really just leaving for Forest because of the money. I think he's the second highest paid manager in the Prem. Just match it. Just bloody match it. And one player I personally don't really rate is Dwight McNeil. I can't see why they swap someone like Brennan Johnson for Dwight McNeil. Brennan Johnson, not even a few years ago, was literally scoring winners against Manchester United in Europa League finals. I shouldn't have reminded myself about that, actually. I just think their transfer window with Mingueza and Tomiyasu is not very strong. Tomiyasu, of course, being very injury prone, and Mingueza, I mean, to be fair, I haven't heard much about him. Commented a little bit on him in the last video, but again, don't really know the guy. I can see Mateta getting them a few winners, but he wants that move. I can see him forcing himself out in January, maybe get too many draws, and they'll end up 15th. It won't be a pretty sight for Palace fans, but at least you're not relegated. On to 15th, and I don't know if this one is a surprising one. I think there's going to be people who put this club high because they still do have somewhat quality, but there are going to be some people who put them very low, maybe even relegation, and that's Newcastle. I think they've literally been rinsed this summer. They've lost 4 big players for me, which is Trippier, Gordon, Guimaraes, and then Tonali. 3 of them being the top 3 players at the club. They've sacked Eddie Howe. They have Yasselin, who is a coach who won a few trophies at RB Leipzig. He actually dominated the Saudi League. I think that will work, but then again, because of the quality that Newcastle have lost, I see it being more of a project. You've obviously have not been anywhere near as you should be in this transfer window. The only player I think is decently well for a team like Newcastle is Bazuna Toure that they should be signing. He's young. I think he'll actually do bits, be a great replacement for Anthony Gordon. Right now, I just think it would be hopeless to say that they'd go any more above 15th, but maybe they'll shock me, I don't know. On to Everton, and I've actually liked Moyes a lot more than I liked him at West Ham. I feel like he is sort of building something, even though he's very old. He does have a good system. They started the league season last year very, very well. Dropped off a little bit, but I don't think they were bad at all at any part of the season, even though they were the reason for Spurs not going down. Not happy with your Moyes on that one. But Brennan Johnson can also be a top player on his day. I think he'll do well if maybe he suits the system, if he settles in well. He's either going to be a hit or a miss. Hayden Hackney as well. He's a player that has been too good for the Championship in the last year, and taking that step up, I think he's going to instantly cement a place into the starting 11 and be a pivotal midfielder in the Premier League. So that's one of my predictions as well. Only thing is goals. I don't see an out-and-out goal scorer, and that's why I've placed them at 14th. All I have to say is Beto, Thierry Barry, step up, step your game up, get some goals. On to 13th, and I have Leeds. They had a great 25-26 season, placing 14th against the odds. Players like Calvert-Lewin, you're looking at it thinking, he's not going to be good enough for the Premier League. He's been off it for years, but he actually proved everyone wrong. Calvert-Lewin being one of the best strikers last season, and I honestly see him continuing that. He's a very important player in their team. I just think what puts them one place higher is 2 things, and that's 3 poor sides, in my opinion, came up from the Championship, so that's of course going to help them not get relegated. And also Trafford. He's a great keeper on his day. I mean, none of us actually saw much of him from City last season, but I can see quality, and I think he'll suit this team very well. Step up as the number 1. Well done, Leeds. One place even higher. On to 12th, and I have Sunderland. Some of you are going to think, what? They came up for the Championship last season and got 7th. Why are you saying 5 places below? But it's because they've literally spent £0 this Premier League summer. They got Thomas Meunier on a free, who I don't think is going to be amazing. I don't even think he's going to start, to be honest. But they've not bolstered their squad at all. They're in Europe. It's a general case where we need depth. We're going to be playing way more games this season. We need some depth. And they haven't gone and done that. And I think they're going to get punished a little bit, having to balance out games. Saying that, it's not going to be bad. Like, 12th isn't bad for a second-year promoted side. And I think Labrie is an amazing manager. And it's a project with him. So I see them maybe getting 12th this season, learning from the mistakes they made this summer, and hopefully improving next summer. On to 11th, and I have Forest. They had a horrible season for their standards last season, but I think they've responded brilliantly to that, getting one of the best managers in the Prem, Oliver Glasner. He knows what he's talking about. He's a great tactician, and also potentially Reinders from Manchester City. He's a proven player. I talked about him on the transfer video I last made. And then on top of that, Diomande, one of the best young centre-backs from Sporting Lisbon. I think you're really showing a statement getting these type of guys in. And I think their defence will be much, much better this season. And I'm actually going to say Gibbs White to score a minimum of 15 Premier League goals this season. You heard it first. On to 10th, and I have Brentford. Keith Andrews' project did come to plan last season, and I see a same sort of season here. No Europe is going to do them favours this season, and I specifically like the sign of Anthony. Not that one, not the one from United who makes your head dizzy. I'm talking about Jaden Anthony. He got 10 goals and assists in the Premier League last season, and I can see him taking that step up, maybe getting 15. They are one of the most consistent sides, and they haven't had sort of any changes or adjustments to handle. So I think they'll be pretty safe in 10th. On to 9th, and I've got a big improvement from 17th twice in a row, and that is Spurs. You can't really put them outside of the top 10 for me. I think a lot of people are going a bit too overboard saying, you know, top 4 or top 6. To me, it just sounds crazy. I've always thought De Zerbi's footballing brain is very, very impressive. What Spurs need is someone who's willing to be there for a few years. Another Maurizio Pochettino, potentially. And I just don't see him as that. But if he does stay this season, if he doesn't leave and he sees the full thing out, I do see an amazing season for Spurs. You also can't deny that they've had the best window out of any Premier League club this season, getting in players like Tonali, Van Heck to bolster the defence, potentially Gakpo, and they've basically strengthened every part of the pitch. Whether or not they settle or not, they've got a whole season to do it, and I see this quality getting through somehow. I think the Van de Ven and Van Heck partnership will be one of the best Premier League partnerships this season. That was actually a tongue twister. I think the only thing that's sort of, you know, not pushing them in top 8 is the fact that they do have a lack of firepower for me. I'd never have thought Solanke's a threat in the league. I don't really think they have any top strikers, any top attackers. On to 8th, and I have Chelsea. I'm a fan of Xabi Alonso, I really am, and we've all seen his title win at Leverkusen. You know, maybe he'll come good, but the problem is, I feel like Todd Boehly is just so demanding. They had one of the best Premier League managers, in my opinion, which is Enzo Maresca, that they just completely bottled because of Todd Boehly spitting his dummy out the pram. I think it's really important that they don't sack him, because if Alonso goes, then they're back to the basics again. They're back to a whole new system, a restart of a project. So he needs to stay this season, and if he does, they will get 8th. This season is also going to be a make or break for Palmer. I'm actually predicting for him to come back. The midfield is great. They have players like Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, even though I have not forgot about the World Cup, mate. You're on thin ice. You're on thin ice, Enzo. So I see them actually controlling a lot of games. They do have an undeniable quality. But the only thing for me is their defence doesn't really look safe. From when I've watched them, they concede very easy goals. Players like Colwill, Reece James are very injury prone as well. Now on to 7th, and I've put Bournemouth. I think a lot of people are expecting for Bournemouth to drop off this season because Iraola has left, of course, to Liverpool, and he was a massive part of last season. People are forgetting the quality and the players that they have. They've kept on to Alex Scott, which is massive. He controls that midfield very, very well. They've kept on to Rayan and El Junior Krupi, who are both 20 years old, some of the best youngsters in the Premier League, and I think they're going to develop even more and become a deadly duo in attack. Even though I'm putting them one place lower than they got last season, I don't think it's necessarily bad, because of course they're in Europe this season, and I'm actually predicting them to balance it well. On to 6th, and I've put Aston Villa, and it's been a long day for Villa, or should I say summer. They've sold Digne, Rodgers, Tielemans, which are some of their standout core players, a bit like Newcastle this season. Manzambi especially was a great pickup. He's an amazing midfielder, still very young. Garnacho, we're yet to see, but you guys know my opinions. I think he's going to be banging. A lot of people are saying even lower for Villa, but we have to remember they still have 90% of their squad, plus Unai's still here. He's an amazing manager, one of the best managers in the Premier League, a great tactician, and with him still here, they're easily getting top 6. Easily. On to 5th, and I actually have Brighton and Hove Albion. I think I might be one of the only people to predict Brighton for 5th, because it's quite a confident guess, but I do believe in them. It's an ongoing project. They're just going to continue to grow and grow. Welbeck is a massive loss, but I know they have a young Greek striker. I can't remember his name, but I think he's going to be banging, get a lot more chances in the first team. They have a lot of younger players who I think are ready for that actual step up. They've kept on to Verbruggen, Kadioglu, Baleba. Also, the addition of Vuskovic from Tottenham Hotspur is an amazing signing. I think he's a very, very in-demand player. He actually played basically all the games for Croatia in the World Cup. So I think he's going to be a solid rock at the back in the Brighton defence. They're a very consistent side, and I see them maybe outperforming some of the others that placed higher than them in the 24-25 season. Oh, sorry, 25-26 season. Now we get into our top 4. Before we do that, I want to plug the game week predictions. Every single game week in this Premier League, I'm going to be posting a prediction video telling you what I think the scores are. So keep up to tune in that. Check out some of my latest videos. I've got some amazing kit ranking videos if you want to check that out, that are quite funny if you ask me. We have our Champions League confirmed teams in no particular order. we have Man United, City, Arsenal and Liverpool. But where are they placing? In fourth, I have Liverpool. Come on, I'm a United fan. You know I'm not going to put them any higher. No, I'm joking. I'll always do an unbiased prediction. I mean, I said years ago with their Premier League winning team, once they age, I don't believe they're going to be able to replace them. That was a golden era for Liverpool. That was their best team in years. It was always going to be a struggle to replace them, but you see they're finally starting to leave, and these new signings are just, for me, they're not it. I don't think McAllister's great. I don't think their attack is amazing. I think Ekitike's decent, but Isak and their wingers, I don't think they're great. Their midfield, other than Szoboszlai, I don't see any amazing players there. Their defence was very rocky last season. Obviously, I'm speaking in a top 4 consideration. In the whole Prem, they're of course one of the best teams. I just think top 4 wise, they wouldn't get third or above. Maybe Araujo can actually improve that defence. He hasn't been amazing recently. If he goes back to form, he's definitely been better than Kanate. I mean, it wouldn't exactly be a hard job to do. They do have some changes, one bad, one good. Obviously, the loss of Salah is going to be very important. And then Iraola as well. He is a very, very good manager. But I do actually think most Premier League fans are getting a bit ahead of themselves. He's not going to be able to do an instant impact. This Liverpool team needs a project. And so I think he's going to sort of see it as the ground up and start from there. So to be fair, for Liverpool fans, I don't think this season's too important. On to third, and I would love to put this team first, but I'm going to put United. We are still in a project. We are still developing. Carrick came less than a year ago, and so I see another third place finish as a very, very good sign. Consistency is what we need. I've had enough of coming third and then sixth and then second and then 16th and just it going on and on and on. Since Sir Alex Ferguson left, I've had enough. Carrick does deserve immense praise for last season. You know, since he joined, we were actually, if you actually counted after he joined, we would have been top of the league on points. The signings he's brought in as well were amazing. Santos looked very, very good in pre-season, like a decent up-and-comer that can hopefully get some minutes in this side. Tielemans as well, he slots perfectly in. I think him, Mainu and Bruno Fernandes in the top of the midfield will be an amazing trio this season, and hopefully we can see a lot of goals and assists between them three. One thing to keep in mind is Mount, De Ligt and Martinez are all quite injury prone. I don't think our depth is as good as a City or Arsenal. I'm going to say though, Cunha, Mbeumo and Sesko to at least bring 40 Premier League goals between them. I think the front three had a year to gel. They're fully gelled now and they're going to come at teams literally like a steam train. On to second. Who is missing out on the Premier League? It's going to be Arsenal. I think last season they did get slightly lucky. That's not me being salty, by the way. I'll put my hands up. You won the Premier League. Well done. But Chelsea had a horrific season. Spurs had an horrific season. Liverpool had a horrific season. City had a horrific season. United had to deal with Amorim for the start of the season. They just don't have that quality that I would see as Premier League winners. They don't have that sort of team that you would imagine a Premier League winner to be. It sounds sort of weird and stats wouldn't back it up, but if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Saying that, their midfield and defence is arguably the best in the league. Declan Rice in the middle and then William Saliba and Gabriel at the back is very, very strong. So I see them maybe having the best defensive record in the league. It's just the depth up top. You haven't got many amazing attackers. Gyökeres, for me, was a very, very big letdown last season. Madueke, well, I don't really need to explain, do I? I just think they're not going to get as many goals and therefore they're not going to win as many games. In first, I have Manchester City. I've kind of sort of grown up in my teenage years watching them lift the title, which has been horrific. But now I just don't really care. I think the team in general is just stacked with Anderson and potentially Buadi. Also up top, they don't have an issue. Haaland, he's confirmed goals. But I think this prediction is coming from me backing Maresca to do amazing. I think Maresca is one of the best Premier League managers. We saw it at Chelsea. He was amazing. For the life of me, I can't understand how he got sacked from Chelsea. It makes no sense. And I know all Chelsea fans agree and they probably, give an arm and a leg to have him back. But I think with a team who have won so many titles, if it works, it's going to work amazingly and they're going to come first. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know I've only recorded it, but I can tell it's going to take ages to edit and everything. So please drop a comment of who you think is going to win the Premier League title, who you think is going down this season. Make sure to check out some other of my videos. See you lads later.